Okay, so get ready because tonight we're going deep, deep into 80s horror
Ooh, yeah.
with a film that, well, it's really something else. Maniac, have you heard of it?
I have, yeah. It's definitely got a reputation.
It does, and for good reason. We're going to be digging into, well, some excerpts from a text about it,
Sounds good.
and we're going to uncover, like, what makes Maniac so unique in the slasher genre. I mean, we're talking about getting inside the killer's head, folks. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I've heard that it's pretty intense.
Intense is an understatement. Let's just start by saying if you're squeamish, you might want to skip this one.
Good advice.
So, first off, we got to talk about Frank Zito.
Hmm.
He is like the heart of this whole film. Trouble doesn't even begin to describe him.
Yeah, what can you tell us about him?
Well, he's got this like incredibly messed up past, right?
Okay.
And he's totally obsessed with mannequins, which already that's pretty creepy.
Yeah, not your average hobby.
No, not at all. And this obsession kind of fuels his, his violent tendencies.
Right? I mean, that's kind of a hallmark of the slasher genre, right? These larger-than-life killers.
Exactly. But the thing about Maniac, it's not just about the kills. It's like it goes deeper.
It's psychological.
Yeah. It's like we're right there in Frank's head, seeing the world through his eyes. And let me tell you, it's a dark place.
That must be unsettling.
Oh, it is. And the fact that Joe Spinell, who plays Frank, also co-wrote the film, I mean, that adds a whole other layer.
Oh, wow. So he was really invested in the character.
Totally. I mean, it makes you wonder how much of Spinell himself is in Frank's psyche.
That's an interesting thought. Does the text mention anything about that?
Not really, but I mean, it makes you think, right? This first-person perspective, it's really like nothing else in the slasher genre at the time.
Yeah, most slashers focus on the victims, not the killer's perspective.
Exactly. The Maniac, it flips the script. We are, for all intents and purposes, Frank.
That must be a tough watch.
It can be,
Yeah.
especially with the level of violence in this film. And speaking of violence, we got to talk about Tom Savini.
Oh, yeah, the special effects legend. Didn't he work on Dawn of the Dead?
He did, and Friday the 13th, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going into Maniac, you know it's going to be intense visually.
He's known for his realistic approach, let's just say.
Realistic is one word for it. This film does not shy away from the gore, like, at all.
Was there a scene in particular?
Well, yeah, actually. There's this infamous shotgun scene. And, well, let's just say it caused quite a stir back in the day.
I bet. That seems to be a common thread with Maniac, pushing boundaries.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, right, Maniac isn't just shocking for the sake of being shocking.
Oh.
It uses that graphic violence to explore some, like, really profound themes.
Oh, interesting.
Loneliness, mental illness, the effects of trauma, all that stuff that most slasher films just kind of, like, gloss over.
They're usually more about the body count, right?
Exactly. And it's one of the things that makes Maniac so unique and so disturbing.
So disturbing, in fact, that it garnered mixed reviews, I'm assuming.
You could say that again. Critics were all over the place with this one.
It was probably too much for some folks.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's not your average slasher flick, you know?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, all that controversy just made Maniac even more notorious.
Yeah, it's developed quite the following.
Oh, yeah. It's got a huge cult following now. Like, people who love horror, they see Maniac as this kind of, like, dark masterpiece.
It's a classic of the genre, even if it is a bit rough around the edges.
Exactly. I mean, it's a film that really makes you think, you know? It challenges the whole slasher genre.
Yeah, I imagine that first-person perspective has to make you think differently about the killer.
Totally. It's like, are we supposed to feel empathy for Frank? Or is it just, like, amplifying the horror of it all?
It's interesting to consider, I mean, if we're seeing everything through his eyes, are we also seeing his motivations?
Right. Are we understanding his pain, or are we just, like, becoming complicit in his violence?
That's heavy stuff, for sure. Maniac definitely throws some curveballs.
It does, which is why it's so fascinating. And honestly, that's what I want you to think about as you watch Maniac. You know, how does this unique perspective, this like glimpse into the killer's mind, how does that change the way you see the slasher genre?
That's a great question for the listeners to ponder, for sure.
It is, right. Does it make you more uncomfortable, more empathetic, or maybe even like more scared?
Makes you realize how much perspective can influence how we see things.
Absolutely. Maniac, folks, it's a film that will stay with you, for better or worse.
Well, I'm definitely adding it to my watch list. You've convinced me.
You won't regret it. Just maybe keep the lights on.
Good advice. I think I'll need to.
You and me both. Maniac, folks. Check it out if you dare. Until next time, this has been a deep dive.
A deep dive, indeed.
And we'll be back soon with another look into the dark side of film.
Can't wait.
See ya.
Bye.